All right, everyone, welcome back to JPC, Spiritual Talk. It's Jared Campbell. So global tensions on the rise, military moves, military coups, and diplomatic clashes, breaking news recaps. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in Bolivia. There's a coup taking place right now. This is breaking news. We're also going to listen to a recording from a friend of mine who lives in Ukraine. He's talking about blackouts every 3 hours, right? We're going to listen to his recording, and we're also going to talk about some more developments that's happening in Ukraine on the battlefield. So without further ado, get the screen shared over, and we're going to get right to it. So thank you all again for following. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what's happening in Bolivia right now, the military coup that's taking place in Bolivia. You know, the world is in a crazy place right now. All this stuff going on, definitely biblical. So here we go, the coup in Bolivia, right? So the coup plotter, the general and his forces leave continuous flow. President Aker swears and the new leadership of the ED. So a coup attempt in Bolivia is being led by General Z. I'm going to call him General Z. The general and his forces withdrew following President Louis Aker's swearing in of a new leadership of the country's armed forces. Videos showed armed personnel carriers around government buildings, and military initially claimed control over the situation. General Z announced a bid to replace the government and restore the republic. President Aker and former President Evo Morales denounced the coup attempt, asserting that most of the military remained loyal to the government. So key events, because we're going to watch a video pretty soon. So key events, right? So key events. The withdrawal of General Z and his forces after the new military leadership was sworn in. The military initially occupied government buildings in critical areas in La Paz. President Aker's orders to the new military leaders to arrest the coup plotters. Reports of clashes and the use of tear gas by military and Merlot swear. The recent coup attempt here in Bolivia underscores the fragile political stability in the country. The General Z's initial claim of control and declaration to restore the republic reflects deep-seated divisions within the Bolivian military and society. The swift response by President Aker to swear in new military leaders and the subsequent withdrawal of the coup plotters suggests a strong loyalist faction within the armed forces that supports the democratically elected government. The coup attempt also underscores ongoing challenges faced by Bolivia and maintaining democratic governance amidst internal and external pressures. The involvement of armored vehicles in the occupation of government buildings indicate the seriousness of the threat posed by the coup plotters. However, the lack of widespread support for the coup within the military and the government's decisive actions underscore the resilience of Bolivia's democratic institutions capable of countering such threats. President Aker's call for the international community to support Bolivia's democracy is crucial, and not only garners external legitimacy, but also serves as a deterrent for future coup attempts. The swift containment of the coup attempt also demonstrates the government's capability to manage internal dissent and maintain order, underscoring the urgency of international support for Bolivia's democracy. In conclusion, while the coup is a positive outcome for Bolivia's democracy, so stopping the coup is a positive outcome for Bolivia's democracy, it also serves as a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities within the country's political and military structures. I say that's true. Continuous vigilance and efforts to strengthen democratic institutions and military loyalty will be essential to ensure long-term stability. So let's watch a video of what's going on, or what was going on in Bolivia. So here is General Z, right, saying how we'll take back our homeland. Our country can't continue like this.
Pero es un golpe de Estado militar como lo ha acusado, general. ¿Usted está diciendo que ahora se van a cambiar ministros, general?
Seguramente se va a cambiar, pero no puede seguir más así en nuestro país, nuestro Estado, siendo los que les da la gana.
General, le vuelvo a preguntar, ¿le han acusado de golpe de Estado militar? ¿Es su intención?
Estamos mostrando.
¿Le han acusado de golpe de Estado militar?
Se encuentra
Estamos
conversando.
mostrando nuestra molestia. Nuestra molestia.
El general Zúñiga con
de la patria, de sus fuerzas armadas, de su ejército, que lo ha parido a esta patria, que lo ha logrado otra vez recuperar esta patria. Basta de destrozar, basta de empobrecer a nuestra patria. ¿Con qué? Basta de humillar a nuestra patria.
se encuentra hablando con la Zúñiga. Para ver qué es lo que...
¿Pero cuál es la orden, general? ¿Tomar la Casa Grande del Pueblo?
Hemos venido a manifestar nuestra molestia. Basta.
Están descargando las todas las Fuerzas de las Fuerzas Armadas. Van a tomar la instalación.
Vamos a tomar la señal de Bolivia TV, habla Zúñiga, vamos a escuchar qué es lo que dice.
Van a tomar la Casa Grande del Pueblo. Y han anunciado precisamente que va a haber cambios. Están descargando las todas las... ¡Aquí no vamos a ir metidos!
There's another. So this is where they were blocking with armored vehicle.
Usted
The government
indicaba
building.
nuevamente el vehículo está entrando, esta tanqueta prácticamente a Casa Grande, a Palacio Quemado, está ingresando, ha roto prácticamente.
So that's taking place in Bolivia. Okay. So let's go ahead. Let's move on. So these two articles went hand in hand. So crisis. Bulgaria accuses scope of violating the rights of the Bulgarian minority and puts a European veto. Well, we will not succumb to blackmail, says Scope. So Bulgaria's president, Roman Radiv, has accused North Macedonia's government of violating the rights of Bulgarian minority and spreading anti-Bulgarian propaganda. In response, Bulgaria threatens to veto North Macedonia's EU accession efforts. President Radiv's statements emphasize the importance of upholding European principles and criticize scope for a stance against international agreements and citizen interests. North Macedonia's Prime Minister, Christian Mitsake, dismissed Radiv's accusations as outdated and accused Bulgaria of denying the existence of a Macedonian minority within its borders. Mikoski reiterated that his country would not be blackmailed into making constitutional amendments demanded by Bulgaria as a condition for lifting the EU veto. The 2020 Bulgarian veto on North Macedonia's EU accession was initially intended to address ethnic, linguistic, and historical disputes. Despite 2022 agreement facilitated by the EU, tensions remain high due to nationalist opposition in North Macedonia, preventing constitutional changes to recognize the Bulgarian minority. Where I said how these two articles were going hand to hand. You know, governments are getting out of control, countries are getting out of control, right? We're starting to see more and more riots and things just not going well, right? So the ongoing dispute between Bulgaria and North Macedonia reflects deep historical and ethnic tensions that complicate the EU enlargement process. President Radiv's accusations point to a significant diplomatic conflict in which Bulgaria feels North Macedonia is infringing upon its minority rights. Bulgaria's insistence on adhering to European principles and international agreements underscores its commitment to these values in the context of the EU expansion. On the other hand, Prime Minister Mikoski's rebuttal highlights North Macedonia's perspective that Bulgaria demands are unreasonable. The mention of the European Court of Human Rights decisions favoring the recognition of a Macedonian minority and Bulgaria adds another layer of complexity, indicating mutual allegations of minority rights violations. Bulgaria's veto threat poses a substantial barrier to North Macedonia's EU accession, illustrating how bilateral disputes can impact broader regional integration efforts. The 2022 agreement, which sought to resolve these issues, shows the EU's role in mediating such conflicts. Though its effectiveness is limited by domestic opposition within North Macedonia. The dispute also sheds light on the broader challenges faced by countries in the Balkans as they navigate their path toward the EU membership. The need for constitutional amendments to accommodate minority rights reflects the delicate balance between national sovereignty and international expectations. Sofia's dispute of low percentage of Bulgarians in North Macedonia further complicates the narrative and indicates the need for more consensus on demographic realities. Overall, the crisis between Bulgaria and North Macedonia reminds us of the intricate and often continuous nature of international diplomacy and minority rights within the EU enlargement framework. Resolving such disputes requires adherence to principles and agreements, diplomatic flexibility, and mutual recognition of each country's concern and historical context. Beautiful. There wasn't a whole lot there. So as we continue on, right? So the crash of Ukrainian front, KMD, the first major Russian advance since the war began, okay? So here are the areas right here. You see them right there, how some of these areas have already fallen. So big losses to Bradleys and Abrams, okay? So in a significant development, Russian forces have advanced 15 kilometers into Ukrainian defenses, right? Capturing several segments, right? Right there on your screen, right there on your screen, right? This marks the first significant Russian advance since the war began. Ukrainian forces have suffered considerable losses, particularly their Bradleys and Abram armored vehicles. The Russians now control a substantial area, forcing the Ukrainians to retreat to new defensive lines. Here's some key events. The occupation of Karlovoka and its lake area by Russian forces. Heavy Ukrainian losses and a strategic withdrawal to the Kharkiv region. Control of those areas that you saw at the beginning. So the control of Russian troops pushing Ukrainian forces. The encirclement, subsequent retreat of Ukrainian soldiers from all these areas that are mentioned in this article, right? The link in the description box. I don't know how to pronounce a lot of these areas, so I don't want to mess it up. So please look at the article. The capture of parts of Sokol with ongoing Russian advancements in the settlement. Ukrainian maps suggest significant areas are now in a gray zone, indicating a lost control over these regions. So the gray zone, right? Some of these maps, to go here and look through some of these maps. So Ukraine, they're just not doing so well right now, right? We're fixing to watch a video here pretty soon. I can't remember which one it was. So the recent advance by the Russian forces represent a crucial shift in the conflict dynamics, with significant territorial gains in a short period. The reported destruction of Ukrainian military equipment, such as the Bradleys and Abrams, highlights the intensity and effectiveness of the Russian offensive. The retreat of Ukrainian forces to new defensive lines and the relocation of units to the Kharkiv region suggests a strategic recalibration in response to the advances. The capture of the settlements, they're mentioned in this article, in the surrounding areas illustrate a systematic effort by Russian forces to secure key positions and disrupt Ukrainian defensive operations. The use of artillery and air force in those operations underscore the multifaceted approach of the Russian military strategy. The lack of official comments from the Ukrainian side, contrasted with the detailed reporting of territorial losses, plants a picture of a fluid and challenging battlefield situation for Ukraine. The gray zone concept further emphasizes the uncertainty and volatileness in controlling these contested areas. Overall, the current developments indicate significant operation momentum for the Russian forces, potentially reshaping the strategic landscape of the conflict in the future. So let's listen to a friend of mine who lives in Ukraine. He's going to talk about blackouts, right?
Hello, Jared. The big thing going on right now is that basically, how to say this, that the power is being cut every day for like a 3 hour cycle. So there will be like 3 hours of no power, then there will be 5 or 6 hours of power, and then there will be 3 hours again. So like it's a different time schedule every every day. It's not in a cycle period. The first time when I came to Ukraine, all the power was normal, and then it shut out at midnight. And now, sometimes I have a lot of electricity in the morning, and then at noon it shuts off. Other times, no electricity in the morning, but then the whole evening, like 12 to 12, I have power. But in short, this blackout is not as bad as previous, and it's a controlled blackout. I know this. But what happens is it's not as bad as it was the first time around, because that one was like 4 hours on, 4 hours off, 4 hours on, 4 hours off, 4 hours on, 4 hours off. It was predictable, but it was completely, you couldn't do much in a way. And with me being in IT, it was a different thing. I should have bought, before I left, a power station, one of those like 300 or 600 watt power stations that are electric, but I did not. But this month I will be buying one so I can keep my internet running, or if not my internet, some devices in order so I don't use so much data and that. Because the internet is a little bit unreliable, because I think everyone is using the data on their side, which then crashes it for some other people. So I go both with periods of internet slowness, and it's not a productivity thing. Other than that, everything is fine in Ukraine. I buy food fine. I'm eating fine. I spend like $20 a week on basically buying some meats, and then I fry them up, and then I cook them, and just simple like that. Just simple stuff. But in some ways, it's not so bad in Ukraine. Otherwise, depending on your lifestyle, it can be bad if everyone is lazy, like in the US. But you can get around that by a generator.
All right, so I just wanted to share that for a second. All right, so let's watch Russian BMP3. There's one with drones. Yeah, it was this one right here. Russian FPV drone destroyed an Abrams tank with the armed forces of Ukraine. So right here. Here we go. Drones clear Ukrainian armed forces positions. We're going to watch this one too. All right. We're going to move right along now. Our next article. U.S. is testing top secret weapons against Russia. Will bear the brunt of a conflict, report says. Europe has no hope. U.S. tests Monterey against Russia, China fleets. So the U.S. is testing top secret weapons against Russia. In the face of potential conflict with Russia, the United States is deploying and testing advanced, previously classified weapon systems, including the Monterey underwater drone, and counteract Russian and Chinese military capabilities. The Monterey is an advanced underwater drone capable of long-term operations on the sea floor without refueling. Drawing comparisons to the Russian Poseidon drone torpedo, satellite images have revealed its presence at Port Hueneme Naval Base in California. The U.S. has also been certifying SM-6 missiles on Navy F-18s and also on B-52 bombers with nuclear capabilities. I talked about that today in my first video. And the testing of PRSM missiles. These efforts underscore America's preparedness to bear the brunt of a conflict, especially given the perceived inadequacy of European military forces. Despite Europe having 1.9 million soldiers on paper, it is estimated that only 300,000 could be mustered quickly in a conflict with Russia. Shrinking the size of European armies, exacerbated by recruitment shortfalls and demographic challenges, further highlights the reliance on U.S. military strength. Reports indicate that German, UK, and French militaries face significant personnel shortages. That's not good, right? With World War III looming, young Europeans are reportedly less inclined to enlist due to changing values and economic pressures, posing further challenges to NATO's readiness. Well, that just proves that there's going to be lots of conscriptions, right? They're going to force people into this war. The United States' decision to deploy advanced, previously classified weapon systems like the Monterey illustrates significant shift in military strategy and preparedness. So, with the U.S. taking significant steps to enhance its military capabilities in anticipation of potential conflicts, while Europe faces essential challenges of mobilizing a significant defense force, the situation underscores the importance of technological innovation and modern warfare, but also highlights the enduring necessity of robust and well-manned military forces. Right. Here's a video of the Monterey.
The first of its kind underwater glider is here. Monterey is a new type of uncrewed underwater vehicle, or UUV. We successfully tested in open water for the first time. Monterey is designed with cutting-edge underwater glider technology that has never been applied at this scale. By incorporating numerous buoyancy engines all working together efficiently, Monterey can operate for extended periods of time and travel long distances at a variety of depths. It can even anchor to the sea floor and hibernate until needed. Monterey will support challenging undersea missions where humans can't go. This amazing UUV is one of our first deep-sea vehicles to be designed digitally from start to finish. Manta Ray is making waves in autonomy, breaking new boundaries, and mastering the deep.
All right. So moving on. So here we go. So the Greek Minister of National Defense, Nikos Dindias, announced that on Thursday, June 27th of 2024, the Hellenic Parliament's Equipment Committee will discuss programs for acquiring fifth-generation American F-35 stealth fighter jets and constructing Constellation-class frigates. The discussion is part of a broader Agenda 2030 initiative to enhance the country's defense capabilities. Man, I've heard that year so many times, 2030. Interesting. So key points. Then Diaz will propose armament programs for F-35 fighter jets and the Constellation-class frigates. Concentration of the Belhara frigates is ongoing, and delivery of Black Hawk helicopters has started. The Hellenic Center of Innovation, ELKAK, is operational with expected tangible results by September. A 100 million euros housing program and new legislation on fleet allowances are in place to improve living accommodations for military personnel. The next step is to approve the letter of offer and acceptance, LOA, for the F-35s by the Parliament and Government Council for Foreign Affairs and Defense, KYSEA. The planned acquisition of F-35 stealth fighters and Constellation-class frigates signifies a significant investment in Greece's defense modernization efforts. These programs align with Agenda 2030, which strategically focus on enhancing the country's military capabilities amid regional security challenges. The F-35 program, being a state-of-the-art addition to Greece's air fleet, underscores the commitment to maintaining the superiority, right, with NATO allies. The Constellation-class frigates will bolster naval strength, ensuring maritime security and projecting power in the Mediterranean region. The ongoing construction of the Belhara frigates and the delivery of the Black Hawk helicopters are critical components for this modernization drive, demonstrating tangible progress and upgrading the defense forces. The establishment of the Hellenic Center of Innovation aims to foster advancement in military technology, potentially positioning Greece as leaders in defense innovation within the region. Improving living conditions for military personnel through a substantial housing program and updated fleet allowances addresses a vital aspect of military readiness, morale, and welfare, ensuring service members have great living conditions, which is crucial for maintaining a motivated and effective defense force. I would say so. In summary, F-35 and Constellation frigates proposed reflect Greece's strategic advancement in advanced military capabilities, reinforcing and defense posture. These initiatives, ongoing projects, and welfare improvements illustrate a comprehensive approach to strengthening national security and supporting military personnel. The following steps in the legislative approval process will be crucial for the timely implementation of these programs. All right, moving right along. So Americans call for peace with Russia. In recent discussions between Russian Defense Minister and the U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, highlight escalating concerns over the Ukraine conflict amid ongoing Ukrainian attacks and continued NATO support for Ukraine. Calls for peace are gaining traction in the U.S., notably from the American Conservative, which published 2 articles advocating for peace negotiations based on President Putin's proposals. The key points include the call for peace negotiations to prevent significant escalation, potentially leading to nuclear conflict. Criticism of Biden's administration, unclear strategy for victory, Ukraine. Arguments that Ukraine's goals, such as reclaiming Crimea and Donbass and seeking regime change in Russia, are unrealistic. Emphasis on the solid position of Russia, bolstered by its economy leadership, military capacity, and Chinese support. Suggestions that the time is not on Ukraine's side and negotiations should happen sooner rather than later. The notion that deeper Western involvement risks catastrophic outcomes. Additionally, voices within Europe, including French politicians, echo the sentiment that a new approach to Ukraine conflict is necessary, with some advocating for reduced financial aid to Ukraine and a return to the negotiating table. The renewed dialogue between high-ranking U.S. and Russian defense officials indicates a critical juncture in Ukraine conflict. The article from the American Conservative reflects a growing recognition among some American commentators that the current strategy may be tenable, and that peace negotiations could be a pragmatic alternative to continued military engagement. The argument that Ukraine's ambitions are unrealistic and that Russia holds significant strategic advantage resonates with concerns about the feasibility and cost of sustained conflict. The call for intermediate peace talks is grounded in the fear of escalation to a nuclear confrontation, which would have catastrophic global consequences. The mention of potential changes in U.S. and European political landscapes adds another layer to the debate. The upcoming U.S. presidential election and the possibility of shifts in European political power, such as France, could lead to a reassessment of current policies towards Ukraine. However, this perspective is not universally accepted. And significant factions within the West are committed to supporting Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The tensions between these divergent viewpoints highlights the complexity of geopolitical landscape and the difficulty of finding a unified approach to the conflict. In conclusion, the advocacy of peace negotiations underscores a critical debate within the West and the best path forward in Ukraine conflict. While some argue for strategic reassessment and immediate talks with Russia, others maintain that supporting Ukraine remains a moral and strategic imperative. The outcome of this debate will have profound implications for international relations and global security. And as we close out, we're going to talk about North Korea, right? Because I'm going to keep my eye on this. All right, so North Korea shows a force against aircraft carriers USS Theodore Roosevelt, a ballistic missiles launch. Japan has confirmed, right? So North Korea has launched a ballistic missile into the sea off the east coast of the Korean Peninsula, confirmed by South Korea's National Defense General Staff and Japan's Ministry of Defense. This act follows the arrival of the U.S. aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt, the South Korean port of Busan, for joint military exercise with South Korean and Japanese forces. The missile launch, which coincides with the 74th anniversary of the Korean War start, is seen as a response to the deployment of the U.S. carrier. North Korea has previously announced plans to demonstrate its deterrent power. In recent weeks, North Korea has also sent garbage balloons to South Korea and has been constructing new fortifications near the inner Korean border. North Korea's ballistic missile launch serves as a stark reminder of the persistent tensions on the Korean Peninsula. This proactive action appears directly linked to the deployment of the U.S. Theodore Roosevelt and the ongoing joint military exercises which North Korea perceives as a threat to its sovereignty. The timing of the missile launch just after the anniversary of the Korean War adds a historical layer to the current geopolitical tensions. It underscores the continuing legacy of the conflict and unresolved issues that fuel animosity between North and South Korea. Its involvement of the USS Theodore Roosevelt in joint exercises with South Korean and Japanese forces highlight the strategic importance of these alliances and maintaining regional stability. However, it also illustrates the challenges in balancing deterrence with the risk of escalation, as demonstrated by North Korea's aggressive response. North Korea's additional activities, such as sending garbage balloons and building fortifications, indicate a multifaceted strategy of psychological and physical posturing. It's true. These actions suggest that North Korea is preparing for potential conflict and is willing to engage in various forms of provocation to assert its stance. For the international community, particularly the United States, South Korea, and Japan, this missile launch shows a measured response that deters further aggression without provoking a more significant conflict. Diplomatic channels must remain open to manage these tensions and seek long-term solutions to security challenges posed by North Korea. In summary, North Korea's missile launch is a significant development in the ongoing security dynamics of the Korean Peninsula, reflecting broader regional historical tensions. The situation underscores the need for a careful balance between military readiness and diplomatic engagement to prevent further escalations. And that's all I have for this second video. We'll see where the time is at. All right. So not too bad, not too bad. And I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm going to close out. All right. So a lot's going on. I'm going to continue to put all this together. Right. I'm just going to keep building, right? because it's all about to go down. Right? So I love you all so much. Thank you for following JPCE Spiritual Talk. Never ever hold back, right? Always try to seek peace, right? Sometimes peace is hard to find, right? Especially in today's world. I love you all so much.